I'm Janae Jackson. I'll be presenting today on the introduction to mindfulness meditation. I'm senior staff at CAPS and part-time with counseling, College of Engineering, working with African-American mental health team at CAPS and have a private practice in the community. And I'm here with Christine. Christine Zhu will tell you what she is going to do today, and she's also on staff.
Yep. Hello, everybody. My name is Christine. I'm a staff psychologist at CAPS as well. And also I'm one of the satellite counselor here in engineering, working specifically with you all. Today I'm helping Dr. Jackson to facilitate the session. But one of the things that I will do is that I will monitor the chat in case you have questions. Please feel free to type in the questions that I will feed the questions to Dr. Jackson as we go along the session, but if there are questions we don't get to because of the time limit, and we'll collect them and we'll find a way to maybe address them on the website. So all the recording, the video eventually will be loaded on the website and you will have access to it afterwards. So welcome.
Thank you, Christine. And also there are some resources and books that I have on slides that I will also share. We can share that later on the web, and that'll save us some time as well. So today we're going to do a deep dive into a wellness practice that is important, I think, because of all the multiple benefits it can offer. At the same time, it's accessible, it's available, it's easy to do, and it can accommodate any schedule. So it's all pluses, and I think it's worth learning about, getting an understanding of what it's grounded in, because it may be something that you want to make use of. My hope for you is that you'll leave here with an understanding of how it can be enhancing to your own life as a student at UC and beyond. If you can learn the basic concepts of how to do mindfulness meditation. For those who are interested, there are many more opportunities to learn about this because it's really a powerful tool. So we can go to the first slide, to the next slide, I should say. So to introduce why we might be here, all of us, I think, have become expert at being multitaskers without even realizing it or trying to. It's a demand of the lifestyle that we have. I mean, I'm sure many of you would relate to that identity. I know that when I'm driving to work, this is back before COVID, I would see people in the car literally driving and eating breakfast, putting on makeup, on the phone. Some people are dancing. I mean, I had a goddaughter who lived with me for a while. At the time, she was like 19. And I was amazed that she could be talking on the phone, talking to me, watching TV, texting 2 or 3 people at the same time, and eating. I mean, this is how we kind of like get good at it. But at the same time, what we don't realize is multitasking, even though it's highly rewarded in our culture, it is not the most productive. It's not effective. We're not at our most productive when we're doing it. In fact, productivity research tells us that the most efficient way of being productive is if you spend 40 minutes of sustained focus, and then you take a break, and then you go back for 40 more minutes. That's the most productive way of working. But for some reason, we think we're getting more done. We can go to the next slide. So today we're going to talk about practicing the opposite skill to multitasking, which is being present in the moment. And it's often referred to as mindfulness or a mindful practice. And it's something that you can choose to do at any time. You can stop and practice it at any time throughout your day. Most people set up a practice where they do it at a certain time because it ensures that it gets done, because they're fitting it into a schedule, but you can do it when you're sitting at your desk daydreaming. So in this workshop, we're going to learn more about that, what mindfulness meditation is, where it was borrowed from. We're going to talk about MBSR, which is mindfulness-based stress reduction. We're going to practice it and then talk about ways to incorporate it in our lives. So we can go to the next slide. Let's stop here for a second. I just want to get everybody grounded and in the right frame of mind. So we're going to do a box breathing kind of exercise. Have you focus, just get comfortable in your chair, and I'm going to calm things down for a second. Focus on the moment. Gently close your eyes. And as you can allow your body to feel fully supported by the chair, take a few slow, deep abdominal breaths, filling your lungs to capacity, releasing the air as completely as possible. Using this first breath, make it a signal to your body you're willing and ready to relax. Take a full breath through your nose, hold it for just a moment, then slowly, slowly exhale through your mouth as though you're blowing out a candle. And as you exhale, say to yourself, relax. And try it again, a full deep breath. Hold, and then slowly, slowly exhale through your mouth. And tell yourself, relax. Now I want you to take a full breath and count to yourself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now go back to breathing normally. This is just a really, really quick breath exercise that you can do at any time for 2 minutes and change your physiological state very, very quickly. And that helps you kind of calm down, reset, and ground. You can either count or you can just focus on your breath. So I actually just taught you 2 separate exercises. The whole point of focusing on the breath or counting is to give your brain something to do while you're breathing and trying to relax. Because if your brain is going all over the place, um, your attention cannot stay focused in the present, and your body is not going to let go. So if you can keep your mind busy with something mindless like counting or focusing on breathing in and out, it helps your mind slow down. So, by the way, Marvin, that's one tip that might be of help, but there's more. So let's go to the next page, the next slide. Sorry. And let's get started with just some basic information about mindfulness. I'm going to try to move through this a little quickly because I want to capture as much time back as possible. This is a very, very, very old concept, and it's rooted in Buddhism, and it borrows from a practice that was developed 2,500 years ago, believe it or not. Simply put, it's about being alive, being fully human in every waking moment. And it's something that is still 2,500 years later, it's still highly relevant to our present day life. Um, Buddhist teachings talk about awareness, something called awareness. And they talk about it as a separate sixth sense that should be and can be cultivated. Um, so it's about cultivating that awareness, and that's the basis of most forms of Buddhist meditation, actually. Um, it's a universal principle. It's rooted in several major cultural and spiritual traditions: Taoism, yoga, Native American traditions, Afrocentric views related to space and time, and even the works of European philosophers like Emerson, Whitman, and Thoreau, who wrote about being one with nature. And it was all about fully appreciating the human experience of being fully present. So 2,500 years of wisdom tells us that this awareness that can be learned, it's a skill, and it can enhance the capacity of the human brain to take information in from all of your senses. And so that's the idea, and allows us to have a much more intimate relationship with ourselves, with other people, as well as deepening our own connection to the immediate environment and the larger world around us in every moment. Next slide. So we can't talk about mindfulness unless we talk about two people. This is the first one. There's a whole story that I think is important to know about, in terms of how mindfulness came into our lives, especially here in the US. And Thich Nhat Hanh is how you say his name. He's a Vietnamese Buddhist monk, a Zen master. He's a poet, he's an author, he's a scholar. He's a peace activist, human rights activist, animal rights activist, and is also really active in the deep ecology movement, which is a movement that promotes raising an awareness of how interconnected all of the elements of nature are. So he's one of the most influential Buddhist teachers in the West, next to the Dalai, or side by side with the Dalai Lama. He joined the monkhood when he was 16. He took his vows in Vietnam at a monastery. And since then, his life's work has been rooted in Buddhist principles of nonviolence, compassionate action, compassionate communication. Um, he's founded a university, a Buddhist university, a publishing house, and a magazine, a peace activist magazine. And he's published over 100 books. Many people probably already know about him, but he also persuaded Martin Luther King Jr. to come out and oppose the Vietnam War publicly. So he actually contributed to giving birth to the peace movement in the US back in the 1960s. So his practices and his teachings appeal across the board, across religious, spiritual, political backgrounds. He has a talent and being able to take the most complicated concepts and break them down, explain them in very, very simple and straightforward ways. And one of his best books is The Miracle of Mindfulness, if anybody's interested in reading that. And that'll be listed in the references too. So for anyone who wants to know more about the wisdom, the traditional wisdom and the spiritual aspects of mindfulness meditation and mindful living, his work would be of interest. Next slide. So there are a few core concepts to mindfulness. So I listed 4 here. There's only, in terms of time, there's only the present. We live in the present moment. We may choose to leave the present moment. We may choose to leave it by leaving our bodies. And when we say that, it's like your mind goes somewhere and your awareness goes somewhere else. So you've left the moment and you've left your body in that way. But we live moment to moment into what we think is the future. But what we call the future is really a new present moment. A previous moment already experienced is what we would call the past. But the moment is all that we really have, this present moment. So that's the most core concept. So then there's acceptance, and that's about letting go of any kind of goal seeking or agenda, not trying to change anything about your experience, just being with it, which is easy to say, hard to do. You're just sitting with yourself. You're sitting with your own awareness. You're accepting things just as they are. Then another one is being is equivalent to doing. The only thing that you need to do from a mindful perspective is to be, just to be here, just to be present. And just being allows you to be fully aware so you can see most clearly what's really happening to you in that moment. Otherwise, you've got lenses of, um, your own biases, your perceptions, your insecurities. There's all kinds of things that get in the way and can be obstacles to seeing what's really there. So the last one is living in full awareness. And again, we're going back to this term awareness, and that refers to something that is actually larger than the mind itself, larger than what we use to think about things. It's larger than us. And you have to actually stop thinking to experience awareness. So, with this type of awareness, you can observe multiple dimensions of yourself all at the same time, um, in a way that you would not be able to do with just your thinking mind. So, you fully freeing up your mind to focus on whatever it is you're choosing to focus on, focusing on what's happening in that present moment. And as soon as your mind moves to something else, your awareness shrinks down. So they don't coexist easily. If you're in your thinking mind, your awareness is not going to be as broad. The busier your mind is with your own biases, your own projections, worries, the negative self talk that a lot of us have, the more obstacles you're going to have interfering with clarity and your ability to focus and to creatively think and to creatively problem solve. So you can see how that could be helpful to you in terms of, being in a classroom or listening or being on Zoom, listening to a class, a lecture, studying, or even listening to a friend who's talking to you. So this type of awareness is something that is achieved by doing this in an ongoing way, but practicing this. And that's where meditation comes in. We can go to the next slide. So, what is this? What is mindful meditation? I was talking about the concepts of mindfulness. How does this work in meditation? There's two major forms of meditation. And because there's hundreds of different kinds of meditation, but there's categories, and Vipassana is one category, and Samatha is another large category of meditation practices. And Samatha is the one that I think, probably make a lot of associations with in meditation, where you're focusing on something outside. You're intentional and actively choosing to focus on an object or a chant, a mantra, an image, a candle flame. It could be anything, but you're choosing to do that to narrow your focus and give your mind practice focusing your mind in order for your mind to relax and not be jumping all over the place. So it's something that helps you develop concentration if that's a goal. The opposite of that is vipassana, or I should say vipassana is really how you pronounce it. The opposite of that is vipassana. It is insight oriented, and it's a particular way of paying attention through our senses in a way that has us fully alive, fully awake, fully aware of everything going on in the moment without focusing on any one thing. And this is what makes mindfulness meditation different from a lot of other forms. The belief is that if you practice this on a regular basis, it expands your experience of the awareness. And as you learn how to sustain it for longer and longer periods of time, it leads to successful outcomes, um, richer life experiences. So, your goal is you're trying to hold an awareness of exactly what's happening as it's happening in that moment. You're not doing anything. It's a passive, non-judgmental observer type of stance that you're taking. And this belief that it will lead you, to having a larger capacity for your life experiences, it's been substantiated with research now that's led by somebody who's a well-known molecular biologist, and that's the second person I want to tell you about. We can go to the next slide. John Kabat-Zinn, he is, whereas Thich Nhat Hanh is known internationally for teaching mindfulness in spiritual communities, John Kabat-Zinn is known for bringing it into the scientific communities, and he turned mindfulness into a movement within Western cultures, particularly here in the US. Now it's been about 4 decades. And mindfulness, you hear about it all the time. It's talked about, and people are applying it and using it in a lot of different ways. John Kabat-Zinn is an internationally known meditation teacher, author. He's a researcher, clinician in mind, body, and integrative medicine. Um, he's been, for most of his career, at the University of Massachusetts School of Medicine. He's on the faculty there. But he started his career out in the 70s as a graduate student in molecular biology, and he later became a student of Thich Nhat Hanh. So during that time, he spent a lot of time in monasteries with Buddhist monks in meditation. And he was intrigued by both Eastern philosophy and Buddhist ideas, and he was working as a scientist. So he became really motivated to create a bridge between those two worlds. And that led him to the question, how can we, normal people walking around in the modern world, living, our multitasking lives, how can we achieve a monk's brain? And when I say monk's brain, he had begun to research the difference in the brains of the monks that he was meditating with. He wanted to know, like, if you sit in a monastery for 40 years and you meditate, what does that do to your brain? And how is that different from everyone else's brain? And he was able to figure that out. He was able to see that non-meditators, in comparison to monks who meditate like most of their lives, that there's a major obvious effect that the meditation has on making differences in the brain, both structurally and functionally, that the brains actually look different. The gray matter is actually denser. And he wanted to figure out a way, like, how can everybody else achieve this without sitting in a monastery for 40 years? Most of us are never going to see a monastery. So he based his career on researching this question and the practice of mindfulness meditation. We can go to the next slide. In order to research this, he created a protocol. And the protocol is called mindfulness-based stress reduction. And that's what we're going to practice today. So he took what he learned about how to meditate from monks, and he adapted it into a secular version of a practice that could be easily learned, easily taught. You could back up, yeah, and easily researched. And that was, the main thing. He really wanted to be able to say, he said, I want to be able to tell if doing this practice has tangible results that can be measured. So MBSR, it involves a specified length of time and what you're doing and what you're not doing while you sit. And it took the form of being a 2-hour course given once a week for 8 weeks. And he taught this course to people who were pain patients at the University of Massachusetts, and over a period of 8 weeks. And then he would do pre-test, post-test kinds of studies. So he first published a series of studies that showed that it reduced chronic pain much more effectively than the conventional medical treatments. And over the years that followed, he and a lot of other researchers started studying and applying MBSR to a lot of different everyday problems like stress, pain, cognitive and emotional issues. And when I say that, I mean like depression, anxiety, OCD, difficulty concentrating, things like that. And even physical illness, because it does impact immunity markers as well. So his MBSR program now is offered in medical centers, hospitals, clinics, HMOs all over the world. He's trained several thousand teachers, instructors at this point in over 30 countries. There's a number of instructors here in this area as well. We can go to the next slide now. So then what did we find out? What did the science tell us? That was all this research done. There were studies done actually at UMass. There were studies done in Massachusetts General Hospital, University of Wisconsin. There's studies out of England, and many of these were trying to replicate the monk studies to see, is this really the case across the board? So Massachusetts General did some studies on hospital workers who meditated for a short period of time, probably 8 to 10 weeks, and compared it to the monk brains, and came up with the same results. It showed that the gray matter was increased. It was thicker. And what that means is your capacity for developing new neural networks increases, which means learning. Your capacity to learn increases. Your capacity to focus and concentrate. So there's certain parts of the brain that were also more activated. There were studies that looked at gamma rays, and gamma rays affect a certain area of the brain that affect concentration and focus. So these combined studies showed strong support that the idea that mindfulness or insight meditation reverses aging is real. It reverses aging effects in your brain. It actually creates a healthier, younger brain. We can go to the next slide. I think here we're talking about overall health, and these are I'm breaking it down into the physical and cognitive. In terms of the health indicators, it's stress-related illnesses are all improved. Chronic pain improves, insomnia improves. And in terms of how we use our brains, the cognitive indicators, positive thoughts, positive emotions, the decrease in depression, a decrease in anxiety, panic, and OCD symptoms, and the ability to focus, learn, and having a heightened awareness came out as one of the markers, the correlations that between high levels of gamma waves and meditation. So essentially, it's telling us that MBSR is a great tool for stress management. The research shows it to be really effective in managing all of these in all these areas, and it increases our productivity in the process. We can go to the next slide now. So yeah, if you think about it, if these are the areas that we gain improvement in, if it improves brain structure and it improves the functioning of our brains, how could it not improve our ability and our capacity to do academic work? So by managing your stress, you're improving your ability to focus, to retain information, to stay positive, and to sleep, which is huge in terms of restoring your brain. We can jump to the next slide. So these are the types of MBSR meditation exercises that are practiced. Like if you were to take a formal class, that 8-week class I mentioned, you would be doing all of these different types of meditation exercises: breath, yoga, movement, walking, standing, sitting. We're going to do maybe two of those today. Well, we've already done breath. We've done some breath exercises. Typically, it focuses on the breath because you can do it anywhere. Your breath is always with you, wherever you go. But it does focus on other aspects of your bodily experiences too, and you can use it in that way. So we could probably shift gears here. Are there any questions, Christine? Any?
No.
No questions. Okay. Does anybody have any questions at this point before we shift gears? Okay. So what we can do, I want to get you set up to actually practice. Um, get in a comfortable and seated position again, if you're not already, and you want to be relaxed when you do this. We can go to the next slide. So, in terms of getting started, these are the things that you want to keep in mind. You want to be relaxed. You want to be in a place of observing your thoughts, emotions, your bodily sensations. What do you smell? What do you hear? You know, is there any tastes in your mouth? I mean, everything, all of your senses um, are the focus. And you're just watching. You're not doing anything, but you're noticing. And you want to allow, without any judgment, thoughts, emotions that arise. Um, just allow them. You know, look on all that is equal and make yourself comfortable with whatever happens with it. Don't struggle with it. Don't try to change it. Just observe, allow and observe. Accept is another key idea in getting started. Anything that happens with your experience, don't judge it. Don't say, well, you know, this isn't the way I'm supposed to be feeling, or this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. That is not true. Accept everything about the experience that's happening when you are sitting. And when I say sitting, when you're practicing meditation. So the feelings that come up, even the ones you wish you didn't have, accept them. Accept that that's how you feel. Even the ones that you hate. Don't condemn yourself for having flaws or failings. Learn to see that it's all good. It goes on, you know, what goes on, it's perfectly natural and it's understandable and it's okay. And return refers to returning to your breath whenever you realize that you've left. And for many of us, that's going to be, you know, 30 times in a row in 5 minutes. You know, our mind is going to go somewhere. And the whole idea is just notice that. Don't get engaged with the thought. You know, if you're thinking, oh, wow, you know, I forgot to make that phone call, that's okay. What you don't want to do is start planning and thinking about the phone call and what you want to say in the phone call and when should I make it? You're caught up in the thought at that point. But when you notice that your mind has traveled somewhere, don't engage with it. Just let it come and let it go and return your attention back to your breath. So there's the work. If there's any work in this at all, it's recognizing where your mind is or your attention is and gently redirecting it back. And so you may redirect, redirect, redirect. You may be doing it over and over, but that is what you need to do. And that's what you're doing when you're meditating. It's a practice. You're practicing. The more you do that, the better you get at it, the quicker you can redirect, the longer you can stay in the present. So the last one is be patient, patient, patient. There's no hurry. You have to take your time. Sit as though you have the whole day, even though you know you don't. In that moment, sit as though you could be here all day. Any questions about that or any comments before we launch into it? Okay. So I guess here, we're all basically, I'm going to walk you through, I'm going to give you, sort of guide you through. We'll start out with a standing meditation, and then we'll do a sitting meditation. And we'll stop in between in case you know, um, want to ask any questions. So um, get comfortable. We'll get going with the standing. How's our time, Christine?
It's 2:50. It's almost 3.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to start with the standing, and because you've been sitting for a while and listening, um, wherever you are, stay near your chair, but just stand up and stretch, get comfortable. You'll have to, I guess, put your speakers on if you have earplugs in. And you want to maintain moment to moment awareness. In other words, you're staying in the moment, you're staying in the present as much as you can. And you're going to work in a non judgmental mode, exploring boundaries and limits of your body, but doing it in a gentle way. You always want to be gentle with yourself. Put your feet 3 inches apart. And if that's not comfortable, put your feet under your hips, wherever that makes sense. Take a deep breath in and out. And repeat again another deep breath in and out. Stretch your arms to the sides and raise them all the way up slowly, 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 all the way up. Elbows straight. Breathing in slowly above your head. Lock your thumbs and keeping your feet flat on the floor. Stretch upwards. Stretch, stretch, stretch up towards the ceiling. And feel that stretch through your elbows, your armpits, all the way down into your stomach and pelvis, stretching as high as you can. Unlock your thumbs and then stretch with your palms out to the side, fingers towards the ceiling so your arms are going lower, lower, slowly. You're coming down, bringing your arms down. Feel how the gravity pulls them down. Slowly lower your arms to your sides. Dangle them by your side. Shake them out. And if your eyes are open, close your eyes and just raise and stretch your right arm while lifting the left heel at the same time. Raise your right arm and lift your left heel. Left arm is still down. And notice how your body weight shifts. Just notice that. Pay attention to that. Slowly lower your right arm and raise the left arm and right heel. You're raising your left arm, right heel. Feel your weight shifting to the left leg and left hip. Reaching and stretching, breathing, come down, bring your arms down, your arm down slowly. And again, you're going to stretch your arms all the way up, coming up from your sides, locking your thumbs again. And now I want you to hang from your torso over the right hip. So you're just kind of like a swaying tree hanging over the right hip. And allow your body to tell you where to stop. Feel the stretch in your left hip and leg. Listen to your body and stay at your limit, wherever that may be. Now come up back to the center. Inhale, arms straight up and center. Lock your thumbs and hang over to the left hip. Stretching out on your right side. Feel the stretch in your right hip and your right leg. Hold that for a minute. And when you're ready, come back up slowly and stretch upwards, straight up. And then slowly lower your arms down, slowly down, down to the floor. And center your attention in your belly and observe your breath for a few moments and feel the after effects of the stretching. Just notice what feels different in your body now. You're back to standing. You're centering and grounding yourself with your feet, making contact to the floor. You're in a neutral position. You're alert, poised, balanced, but completely relaxed at the same time. So I'm going to give you a minute to return to a seated position. Close your eyes. Straighten your back. Stretch your torso upwards so your back is straight. Now gently turn your head and chest from your waist to look over your right shoulder. Feel the stretch. Feel what feels tight and loose in your body. Go back to center. And then do the other side. Gently turn your head and chest from the waist and look over your left shoulder and feel what stretches in your body when you do that. Keep breathing. Go back to center. Come back to stillness and feel the after effects of what you've just done. Just notice. Don't do anything about it. Just notice it. Now focus your attention on your belly and your breath. Take a deep breath in and let it out. Feel your heartbeat. Let everything settle down. Bring your awareness from the belly, from your body, back into the room. And if your eyes are still closed, open your eyes. And that ends our first standing meditation. So I'm going to ask who might have noticed something that they want to share. Did you notice how difficult it might be to hold your head? I'm sorry, to be in your head at the same time you're in your body. Did anybody notice that? It was hard to, think about things while you were focusing on stretching and where you were placing your arms or legs. It's kind of like similar to a yoga practice.
Somebody says, I noticed my muscles were stiff. I didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny how we can walk around with tight muscles and have no clue how tight they are until we bring our attention to them. And this is a way of getting back in your body and realizing, what's really happening. This is a pretty typical, it's very simple, but it's a pretty typical mind body exercise. The goal is to stop, redirect, and distract your mind. Um, the reason why the focus is on, bringing your attention to different parts of your body is because you want to be able to give your mind something to do. Otherwise, it's going to go to worries and thoughts. Um, our bodies tend to follow our thoughts. If we're not paying attention to where we're putting our attention, um, if we're thinking about something that's stressful, our bodies tend to tense up. So we want to give our mind something to do so our attention is in control, and it allows our minds to rest, and it allows our bodies to rest, and it allows us to see what's happening right now. The point being, we can take control of where our attention rests by being still. So we can move now into a sitting. This is more of the meat of mindfulness practice, is sitting with yourself, and what do you do with the thoughts and the feelings that come up. So if you're ready, we're going to get comfortable again in your chair. Focus on the moment. Gently close your eyes again. And as you allow your body to feel fully supported by the chair, take slow, deep breaths, abdominal breaths. Fill your lungs to capacity. Release the air as completely as possible. Take a full breath in again through your nose. Hold it for just a moment and then slowly exhale through your mouth, like you're blowing a candle out. Tell yourself again, relax. Now really notice your breath. Let your body breathe according to its own natural rhythm, slowly, easily, without effort. Notice how each breath is designed for the moment you breathe it. No matter how hard you try, you can't breathe a breath in this moment that you will need 5 minutes from now. Just like you couldn't have taken a breath 5 minutes ago and saved it for now. It's all in the moment. Allow your breathing to help you focus on this present moment, this piece of time that's never before been and will never be again. Let go of what happened before you joined this room. Let go of your plans for when you leave. Just for now, allow yourself to be here in this moment, nowhere else to be, nothing to do except be here now. As you relax and focus on this moment in time, remember that there's no correct way to do the exercise. However you experience this exercise, whatever you get out of it today is just right for you. So trust the process. As you continue to relax, some part of your body may try to get your attention, and you might want to shift to become more comfortable. And if that doesn't help, then just tell that part of your body that you'll pay attention to it later. Right now, you're just concentrating on relaxing. Let the discomfort fade into the background as you withdraw your focus on your body. And let yourself relax more and more completely. Let go of attention to sensations in your body and be here now. And as you continue to relax, you may experience some emotions surfacing. Maybe before you began, you were worried or anxious or upset about something, and that feeling's coming back now. It's intruding into the exercise. Or you may be aware of needs or desires that you have. And when the exercise is over, you can return to the issues of your daily life, but you may want to deal with the cause of your emotions and respond to them then. Right now, it's time just to let it go. So I invite you to put those emotions and desires in a small boat tied up to a dock with a long, long rope. Let them drift away with the current of relaxation, knowing that later you can pull that rope in and allow your emotions and desires to return if you wish. For now, let them float away. You don't have to worry about them. You don't have to think about them. You are not your emotions. The essence of who you are is not your emotions. You can control and desire you can control or deny desires that you have. So you're not your desires either. You're just you with yourself. Just be aware of this moment, letting go of attention to emotions, attention to desires, and just be here with yourself. You may also notice thoughts that come unannounced. Perhaps you're judging how well you're doing this exercise, or your thoughts will come, but you don't know what to do with them, or you don't know how to not engage. You can choose not to engage with them. Let them come and then let them go. Just notice, oh, I'm having a thought about the exercise. I'm having a thought about what I'm going to eat later. And then just let it go. So when any thought interrupts this quiet place you're in, allow it, but without giving it attention. Detach yourself from your thoughts by coming back to an awareness of your breath and by being aware that you can only breathe one breath at a time. And let each breath bring you back to the present and quiet your mind. Allow yourself to simply be. No attention to the body and its sensations. No attention to your emotions and desires or to your mind and its opinions. Instead, let yourself be aware of a calm center that lies inside of you. It's a place filled with comfort and peace. And each time you're aware of a sensation in your body, each time you sense an emotion or a need arising, each time a thought intrudes into the quiet of this place within, let it go and return to the center of your being. Just allow yourself to simply be without attachment to anything except the experience of being here in the moment. Notice with all of your senses. What do you feel? What do you hear? What do you smell? How does your heart feel? What is it saying to you? What is this part of you that is able to experience being here in the center of your inner world? This is your fundamental nature. It's the essence of your life. It makes you who you are. Allow yourself now to experience who you are in the center of your inner world. Simply be here in this moment and keep breathing in and out. Remain in this centered world, focused on the present moment, experiencing yourself. I'll let you be with yourself for another minute in silence. Bring your attention back to your breath. Notice the feeling of your body resting in the chair. Notice how your feet rest on the floor. Notice any areas of your body that are still holding tension. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, and when you're ready, bring your awareness back to the Zoom room. Take an energizing deep breath. Release your breath. Stretch your arms and legs. Open your eyes. And while you're maintaining the same state that you've been in, relaxed and peaceful, come back to full alertness. And that ends our second sitting exercise.